Hello, everyone. This is the Minority Report. I'm Walter.
I'm Dozie.
Today we want to talk about it's a thing that happened a while ago. Um, it was a very serious issue. Flavour, the artist Flavour, he held a concert, and then after it happened, some girls were raped. News like that spread, it became such a big thing online. And before you could say Buhari, they had become
An
an
Igbo
Igbo
thing.
thing. They were now saying the news no longer was that some girls were raped. It became that Igbo guys are rapists.
Racist.
It was one of those topics that I considered just so ridiculous. I didn't even weigh in. Like, I was just on the periphery observing. Like, I didn't even understand
The nexus, how do you go
how
from
did
this
the
to that?
how did the narrative now move from women getting raped to even men are rapists.
An interesting thing is in all of this, they moved away from the substantive issue, which is the rape of these girls and trying to get some sort of justice done. And it became an inter-ethnic war.
Everything in Nigeria just comes
Somehow,
down to ethnicity.
Yes, it just has a way of
Becomes
becoming an ethnic
issue.
thing.
Like, this was a problem. This was a societal ill. Some girls were raped. Can we please talk about that? And that's an actual issue, a very serious issue. And then we move from there, and it becomes.
And here's where it
Igbo guys
becomes
are rapists.
crazy for me. It's one thing because apparently this had happened before in Enugu. It's one thing to say Enugu has a rape problem.
High
Enugu
rape-
City
Yes.
has,
A high incidence of rape.
Yes, a rape issue. It's what, but then now throw this white blanket and make it an Igbo people thing. I do not understand that at all, and I feel like this sort of follows in a pattern. And I think this is a mistake we'll keep making because we do not engage with our history. I feel like, and I always say this, if you want to be bothered about it, that's your problem. But I feel like the Igbo person is, the ready scapegoat of Nigerians. And this follows in the pattern. It is how a coup that was meant to install a Yoruba man as president became the Igbo coup, which culminated in the genocide, which is now called, that was the Biafran War. It is the reason why people are always insistent on, I am Ika, I am Ikwe, not to distance themselves from being Igbo, as though the very idea of Igbo as a swath in referencing a group of people is not something that was invented by the colonial masters.
Remember when I was in secondary school, we had, I can't even remember the details of the argument, but the guy, he's from a Delta. And it was just so, there was one really heated argument that we were having that, he answers Ebuka or something. He answers an Igbo name though, and somehow we're trying to, some of us in the argument were trying to let him know that you're Igbo, and he was like, no, he is Delta. We're like, okay, but you're Delta Igbo. He said he's not an Igbo person.
I had a roommate in law school who would, he says he's Ikwe, but he's more ready to admit that his ancestors, Ikwe people, hail from Benin than to admit that there's any connection with Igbo land. Like, when you talk, I can understand you, but somehow your ancestors come from Benin. And all of this, when you look at all of this, it's no surprise that even though Igbo people are a major ethnic group in this country, that Igbo language is facing extinction. There's this, and I keep making this argument, that there is this inherited sense of ethnic shame. Growing up, while I was growing up, I can speak Igbo because my parents wanted us, but all my parents' friends, what will my children do with Igbo? Mbakwao. No, where will Igbo take them to? There's this inherited sense of shame. I dated somebody last year for a very brief period, and whenever we were having conversations, even things were not linked to ethnicity in any way, you'd hear things like, you Igbo people. And anybody who grew up, outside of Igbo land, when you hear that you Igbo people, it is never in a good context. And it is a very loaded thing. Rape is something that is horrific. It's something terrible. This is a global problem. It is a mass problem. So when you are making that particular emphasis on this is an Igbo problem as opposed to being a mass problem. We have to ask ourselves why, what you intend to achieve with that. What does that mean?
I read some posts, though, some friends of mine who made posts about that, empirical evidence to show that this is an Igbo thing, where they talk about how women go to the market and usually and all these people who take the liberty of dragging women to come to their shop and buy things are mostly Igbo guys. They take advantage.
But any market you go to in Nigeria, it's mostly Igbo men that are there. It is a men's problem. The fact that it's Igbo men who predominantly do this only goes to show that likely find more Igbo men in this market than people from other ethnic groups. It doesn't then. I don't know how people make this connection.
Here's I'm not like I'm excusing that kind of bad behavior in the market. Myself, I find
it's terrible.
But this is another tag that is given to the Igbo man, which they say Igbos are hustlers. They are bigger hustlers. They have their eye out for things that possibly will get them money and all that. So you find a majority of them in these markets, and in tune with the hustler spirits, this is what they do. They reach out, they drag people, come and buy from them. But I think it's a bit of a stretch to go from there to saying because they drag people in the marketplaces that then they are rapists.
And yes, it's important that even the means of this emphasis, like when we say this thing is men as scum, for example, what the emphasis is on? It's on a system. It's on the patriarchy. How men generally feel entitled to. But when you make it an Igbo men's thing, what are you placing emphasis on? You're not placing the emphasis is not on the men aspect of it. It's not. The blowback isn't against this system. It's against
an ethnic group.
Exactly.
When you say, it's just like saying, okay, if you're saying the moment you introduce an adjective, it removes from the issue and now addresses that adjective. So when you say,
particularize this in a way that's really, really dangerous.
If you say Igbo men are scum, we will no longer be talking about patriarchy. We're not talking about just how bad that ethnicity.
And I saw somebody made a post that is the same way if we say, India has a rape problem. Actually, that was very correct. But it's one thing to say India has a rape problem. It's another thing to say Punjabi men have a rape problem or Hindu men have a rape problem. Then it becomes a completely different thing.
It's a different thing. Yes. Why not say Enugu has a rape problem?
Like if you say Enugu has a rape problem, then that's an understandable thing because there have been incidences, and not just Enugu City. I want to stress that Enugu City, because these things happened in a place, and it's what. And like the assumption somehow.
Wait. And another thing, even when people in Enugu raped some girls. Some men in Enugu raped some girls.
How I sure they're Igbo?
Do you know they were Igbo men? Because
everybody who lives in Enugu is Igbo.
Is Igbo? No, Enugu is every city in Nigeria, every municipality in Nigeria has people, Nigerians mingling through. Yes, there may be a majority of that ethnic group that the city belongs to, but there are people who live in everywhere. There are Yoruba people living everywhere. There are Hausa people living everywhere. There are Igbo people living everywhere. So when people in a place rape them, I'm sorry, unless you did a consensus to know exactly who and who raped, it is very improper to say it's Igbo people that raped them. Simply okay, if people in Lagos raped someone, would you say it's Yoruba?
No, that's why you now hear that Lagos is a melting pot.
Oh,
and here's the stupid thing. Some people are making the argument that people stressing that you cannot mix an Igbo thing is like that this thing is a general problem. Both people, it's a general men's problem. People from other ethnic groups too. Is like saying bringing up all lives matter when they are saying Black lives matter. Like that is a stretch. That is not only like what is that? The false equivalency of it. That's just completely stupid. Like how do you even make that connection? And some other people are saying the very fact that it's mostly Igbo people who are championing this whole is Igbo men who are rapisting. But like I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of months ago, and she was talking about how she hates to and work with Igbo people. That Igbo people, blah, blah, and she used the example of one boss who was a female boss of hers. That the boss was too didn't want to associate anybody. She was too mean and blah 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 blah. And I kept asking like why are you associating that with her Igbo-ness? And in the course of doing that, she kept. And I kept asking her, but she's an Igbo girl. Like she said, she's different. She's an exception. So, on the basis of one person, you have worked with, you are making these judgments, and then you are making yourself as an exception, put yourself on a moral high ground.
This is inherent in any group of people who are
oppressed. That fictive
oppressed.
Kinship.
There is
one person does something and it blows back to everybody else.
There's always someone who feels the need to separate himself, and not just separating himself, but put down the others just so he can feel
exactly. And in doing that, in separating yourself, you're making yourself as the exceptional Igbo person.
Yeah,
that's the idea behind
it's
it.
Not a validation. It's not a validation of a claim that somebody in the ethnic group or in that group, whether somebody somebody who's a woman, or somebody who's an LGBT individual, or somebody who's an Igbo person, or someone basically who's in any group.
Exactly.
And it's not a validation of a negative claim that someone in that group supports it.
And there's extensive scholarship, establishing the relationship between oppression and fictive kinship. There's a myriad of papers on this. We've seen this with queer people calling out Bobrisky because he's a bad representation of what it means to be queer. Like, he's fucking presenting himself. So recently we saw that with Tiffany Haddish, black people calling her out that she was too ratchet,
too black.
She was too black.
And it's interesting to note that this criticism, she's been that way all her career, but suddenly she's getting the attention of white people. Suddenly, oh my God, can you please
you're not too
tone
much.
down?
Can you please tone it down?
It's so that's no place to stand on. Instead of us talking about the important things, like what was the circumstances of the rape, what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again? How can we sure it doesn't happen again? How about the people who threw the concert? Did they say anything? Did Flavour and Final, I think it's very, very responsible if, I don't know, maybe they did, but I didn't hear. But I think it's very responsible if they threw a concert and such a thing happened and they didn't feel any responsibility to condemn or say anything out, about it. If they didn't, it is very wrong. But, if they didn't, we didn't even create a platform for them to do that, because the conversation quickly moves away from what is actually serious. It's something very, very trivial, and it's just wrong. Like, just think about how the possibility of ethnic marriages like this and that kind of claim sticks, and then an Igbo man is looking to wed a Yoruba girl, and then you go to her house and she says, it's an Igbo man. Did I not hear that they are rapists? The one about us being Igbo men being money conscious and all that one has already stuck. But this one now.
But even that stereotype, like generally stereotypes, like it functions like the tilted room. Igbo people are not the only people who are industrious, and even the sense in which that industry is always placed. I have a problem with it because we are forgetting the fact that prior to the war, that Igbo people were, in a lot of these government state houses, but after the war, all of that, they were ousted from the economic boom that happened after the war. Was no matter the amount of money you had, you were given how many measly expect to start fresh with that. So this whole stereotype, I just feel like the entire thing is an adamant refusal to engage with the history of this country. It stems from that.
Exactly, and that's I was watching a few months ago. I was watching the Canadian Prime Minister. He was before people basically he was he made this whole speech that was an apology to the indigenous Canadian people. LGBT.
Okay, LGBT.
And I did not even know this. Canada had a history of persecution of their LGBT community, and he was talking about it and he was apologizing, and it seemed like this was going to be like the stepping stone, like a threshold to a whole new beginning for Canada as a country and its human rights and all that. And there was a remark, I can't remember, but something that basically pointed to the fact that engaging with their history, knowing their history, helped them realize the errors they had made and brought them to this point now where they want to revise it. We are just so, and I don't even get, like, at the end of the day, you just realize that the people in power, this is where they want to keep us.
Yeah.
Persistently ignorant of the fact that we are repeating things that brought us dangerously close to being, to a form of the solution. We need to know our history. These things need to be taught. We need to familiarize ourselves with these histories. They are wrong, they are horrific, yes, but let us engage them so that we know the things we are doing wrong and we know not to go back there.
Like, Igbo people need to engage with that sense of ethnic shame. Where does it come from? Why do you feel this thing? Because I feel like these things happen on a subconscious level. I started to realize this is because of things I read. I started to read, and I started to realize, okay, there are certain things you do, there are certain ways you react when you see another Igbo person doing stuff. Like, you need to engage with that, but you cannot do that without engaging with the history. And people from other ethnic groups too also need to realize whenever some of this is happening, just somehow has a way of breaking down and becoming an ethnic thing with the Igbo person, the scopes. Patriarchy is the problem, is a global problem. Misogyny is the problem, is a global problem. The rape culture that stems from these systems is a global problem. But when you're particularizing it in a way that the spotlight is only on a small group of people, it begs the question, why? Why do you feel the need to make this an Igbo thing?
And it takes away from the issue. If the whole point of talking about rape, if the whole point was to talk about rape and to address it, putting an adjective to it, tagging it on a people, takes away from the conversation. It makes it no longer like it was. I mean, that whole thing stopped being about rape and started being about Igbo men. That is the way it happens. When you put tags on these societal ills and make it about a minority or a group of people who are often oppressed, then it becomes less about the issue and becomes more about the people you're talking about. That's just, it gets us nowhere.
So yeah, I guess that's it for today's episode. We should think about all of this stuff before you make such claims, make such blanket statements as Igbo men are largely rapists or Igbo men are largely misogynistic, as opposed to men, which is what it is. This is not a denial of the fact that there is a problem, but it's also important to interrogate how we engage with this problem, because those can also be problematic. So on that note, I guess it's bye from me, Dozie.
Walter.
See you next time.
Well, my name is Uchenna, just so you know. I am very Igbo.
Bye.
I thought a sign of ethnic shame, but I'm answering.